Welcome. Welcome to the Poetry Flash reading series. I'm Joyce Jenkins, editor and director, coming to you from Poetry Flash in Berkeley. Today, we are very pleased to present a reading by Elena, Karina, Byrne, and Gail, Wronsky. This reading is co-sponsored by Moe's Books in Berkeley. You can purchase the featured books at bookshop.org/lists, LISTS/poetry-flash-readings. The link is also in the chat box. You're muted on entry. Please don't unmute during the reading. This event is being recorded and will be posted on the Poetry Flash Facebook page and Poetry Flash YouTube channel. After the recording is stopped, we'll keep the Zoom on for just a few minutes so those who are joining us live can ask a question or say hello. Remember to visit poetryflash.org to see reviews and news about upcoming events in California. To join our email list, go to poetryflash.org and scroll to, you guessed it, join our mailing list. Our first amazing poet tonight is Gail Wronsky. Gail Wronsky's new book is Under the Capsized Boat We Fly, New and Selected Poems. David St. John says, Gail Wronsky is an astonishing poet whose work I've turned to for more than 25 years to find the most deeply compassionate, artistically complex, and intellectually astute poetry being written in this country. High praise. She is a literary revisionist of the most exquisite order, reconstructing the poetic canon, challenging the historical conventions of poetry, and striking urgent lyric chords of female empowerment. Her previous collections include Imperfect Pastorals, Poems for Infidels, and Dying for Beauty, which was a finalist for the Western Arts Federation Poetry Prize. She translated Argentinian poet Alicia Partnoy's Flowering Fires, winner of the American Poetry Prize from Settlement House Press. Let's give a jazz hands welcome to Gail Wronsky.
Hi everybody. So nice to see you. Thanks so much for showing up and zooming in. If you hear somebody growling in the background, that's my cat. She's unhappy. There are raccoons at the door and she's growling at them. So I hope that doesn't interfere too much. My book is The New and Selected. It represents about 40 years of work, and I'm going to start with a couple of early poems and then, end up with some more recent poems. The first poem I'm going to read is a poem I wrote in graduate school, and I wrote it about the time I met the person I will end up spending the next 30 some years with, Chuck Rosenthal. And I describe him as ugly in this, and he's really not. If you know him, he's quite handsome, but I was still really resisting his charms when I wrote this poem. So it's called Parting. My ugly new love lost his first wife in the bathtub. Now I'm going blind. I can imagine only the distances. An archangel tickles my shoulder with flame. In another few years, he will ask for my phone number. Ask what you like. What I like is simply the notion of parting at death, of seeing in darkness, of wearing an afterlife dress and escaping forgiveness. I'll recover if you point to me forever and whisper cadaver. Of course, that's not vision. I lie like a sunbeam, amazed at the edge of the page. The next poem is also an early poem. It's called Ne me quitte pas, which refers to the Nina Simone song, but also, and it means don't leave me, but it's also in some ways addressed to myself, like, don't leave me, Gail, you know. Ne me quitte pas. There are French intellectuals who say that a woman kisses herself as she walks, her legs like two school children whispering. In the space between stanzas, which I will call the clearing, in the clearing, in the interior clearing, something of herself, the woman walking, is disappearing, is left standing at the station in a vintage Chanel Mini, kissing another unreliable lover adieu. Dance of Rememberment. This is from Poems for Infidels. Glance into a mirror, the poetic corpus. You are Laura Scatterini, goddess of dispersion, a beautiful monster created out of every individual perfection. Postponement is your thing. You lack parts. You cry out to reverse it. A non-Freudian way of looking at yourself seems urgent, but the libido returns, savage and non-cultural, wearing long fringe and implants, waving its fetishes, dismantling dogmatic packages, prescriptives. Please the Father, become the Father. Oh, turn on him, talk to the trees, make your nakedness a reason to speak. See the present moment as an end. Your body is hope. Your body is word. Your body dancing alone at the expense of no one. A tolerable, swirling nudity, turning the forbidden screws, permitting a celebration in which word turns back into flesh, absence into heat, into light, into meaning. This one is simply called Poem, and I don't, the only thing you need is the little statement at the start of the poem, which serves as an epigraph. It's already the end of the month and I haven't finished my essay on Larry Levis. Larry was a friend of mine, and most of you probably know his poetry, amazing poet. This is in some ways a kind of elegy for Larry. And the line at the end of the poem, "We go without a trace," is Larry's line. My love affair with lilacs uses up one more day at the desk. A bush, the sprouting unerringly, the dead face in the coffin, his or that graybeard's, not more elegant than my own. Don't you feel them, all the ghostly undulations here? More lilacs would purify this room, unhaunt it. Eros could slip out on Psyche, leaving her satin flanks still damp, her sex still edgy. The problem is that ghosts don't evaporate. They linger in our caves. They lick our ears. We go without a trace, is what he keeps on trying to say to me. Oh, that's my cat. Okay, this was from Blue Shadow Behind Everything Dazzling, which is a collection of poems I wrote after spending 4 months in India. Go on shore, why not? And the epigraph is, the gods walked along the path up the valley like a caravan of ants. My beloved black bamboo seems wrong today here next to the live oak on my terrace. Though as I say that, I know it's what I've said every time I've arrived at this precise moment. Before I pause, then notice a tribe of red ants stuck like dried blood bits in the thin cracks of the oak bark. To go on at that point always seems an inadequate description of what it is we do when Brahma wakes. Even living fails to describe this inhabiting of eternity in which we pause occasionally and insist upon striking claim to an aesthetic point of view. One wants to be singled out. At the same time, one wants to be hidden in a thicket of sharp black leaves, to be nothing but a pair of orange eyes without the human burden of self-awareness, pure fear, pure procreant urge, pure hunger, pure thoughtless push. When Hamlet says, "My thoughts be bloody or be nothing worth," he's thinking too of the grave where there is no thinking blood, no bloody thinking. I write a lot about death. Most of us do, I think, right? It's an occupational hazard. The next couple poems are from Imperfect Pastorals, and the poems in this book all begin with a line from Virgil. Clearer than amber gliding over stones is the sunlight of thought. Crisp, quieter than the crisp fiction of windlessness, production, consumption. Are you tired of convincing people you're not trying to convince them of anything? I am. Soil is necessary. Perhaps we could agree on that and stop cupping our hands beneath the sky as if it held what we wanted, a name for what it is that happens in our minds when we're ecstatic and alone, when briefly destiny uncries like someone in a movie weeping backwards, tears rolling upward from cheeks to eyes. Perhaps nothing can outrun the rose of this mind thriving, not even the final sealing hush of golden Buddha. Maybe we're trapped innately, gnat-like, in the middle of great vacant signs. Maybe we just think we are. And in green meadows raise a marble temple. The sound you hear, it's a hammer chiseling time out of fragrance in our pain. It's a pas de deux of childhood dreams and generations' claims. It's the dance of a sand grain in the stem crook of a shoreline flame. Or it's you and me pulling ourselves along an infinite chain of incongruities toward unthinkable death. Oh, tissued scrim of history, a skeleton man with a look of pity asked me up to his apartment, the best in New York City. That was long before we fell into the ayahuasca, Lord. And now that we've lost our talent for impersonating lizards, now that we've harvested for ourselves the long green hair of a river, now that we've pawned our ethnic jewelry from Cusco and Costco, where's the poem that once held it all for us, all pleasure and all sense? And what is this overintended sandwich of canned meat, boneless, economical? Oh, monuments, oh, polychromatic Cali keeping beat. What need to tell of autumn's storms and stars? That's another line from Virgil. Beautiful writer. It can hit you hard as a whip of grainy dust blown in your eyes. The realization that you need to tell someone all of it, even the worst, in words not cheapened with showy sound effects, and with or without the dismembering conventions of allegory, that you need to write about this woodpile glowing between us like a dragon's hoard of gold-plated bones. Do more than sit in the dust eating spiders and crust, whether or not you'll be taken for mad. And if you are taken for mad, at least you'll be left alone. What can I tell you about the evils of other people, except that I've often found human interaction to be a ferocious and almost feral feasting, not unlike the one Dante finds, in which Count Ugolino eternally feeds on the uncooked flesh of his son, afterwards wiping his mouth with the hair of the man he has just eaten. Now that I've covered that, let's step out into the autumn evening and happily, perhaps drowsed with the fume of poppies, look up, because the dim lit sky is almost drooling with our dying, hence our wind-swept laments of gratitude and longing. Sort of pulled that, slightly positive ending just out of my sleeve there at the end. Yeah, it got a little dark, I've got to admit. This is the trees that lift themselves spontaneously. The days just handed me a glass bulb pipe and an energy drink despite my death fetish. Now that we've met, you can see I'm haunted by meaning and both excited by and worried about the possibility that writing is moving more deeply into graphic regions, such as actual figuration. I'm already quite aware of the con game that is rhetoric. But frankly, I suck at drawing. So how, if that happens, will I ever even start to assert real authority in the life of my people? Oh, alphabet. And now the pre-verbal seagulls of San Pedro cry by above high-reaching greenery. I had nothing to do with their rising or with the trees meeting united like lovers in the sky. The wind spins as quietly as smoke here. I'm the woman filming it. And then I'll read just a few new poems from the new poems section of the book. Let's not fetishize the negativity. We weren't watching the waves as they crested, tumbling toward us. That they reiterated canyons, sinking down between high points, we knew without looking. The weather wasn't a storm denying its destiny, but an ephemeral tyrant whose song and custom we adopted. It didn't keep us angry or evoke the overwhelming idioms of the imagination. What non-interference could have freed us? Nightly wildness had come. Sweat embraced it before succumbing to its chill. Addicted to disclosure, addicted to visibility, we were failures that would one day pack it in. Knowing this was a kind of victory. The only thing we have to lose is loss itself. Take from yourself what is always absent in you. You won't misinterpret the spring rain overflowing the gutter and splashing on the bricks. Take from yourself the pool of it and the sorrowing, the mouths on people's faces. You won't treasure these disappearances until the death phone rings again. For everything is ash-choked, delighting in catastrophe. And for the person who can foresee the planet's foregone end, nothingness is of no use. In my world, not even the poem rising from mud, rebellious and alone, loses its losses. I won't let it. Just two more. Conspiratorial we. Hammers and fingernails withheld even in the midst of frenzied days and envies. Nonplussed sun, which moves behind mountains to caution the edges of our eyes. Mouths which nothing can outdie. Under the disordered dusk, through mysterious windows, we meet and conspire, bathe our daydreams in gin. So much said already in the twilight. We are alive, but do not demand much of it. We don't believe in anything but ghosts. We don't question people badly dressed in mourning. Under the heavy heel, we are alive and weightless. Under the capsized boat, we fly. And one more. This is the last poem in the book. It's called An Autobiography. Scrambling through weathered and frenetic academies, escaping from infrequent inspiration, armed to the teeth dreams, domestic omens of infertility, brain racked at the lips of cups, memories that can't be conjured. Mountaintop cabin, in your frog-rich mud, a bright delight once gave birth to a capsule of happiness. Love left to another's mercy, what did I write of? Infrared houses haunted by pasts, by families bitten with insanity. Something I wanted to be known, my fury appeased. What had hollowed out my belly, anesthetized my heart, perverted my scheming. Funeral flowers removed from the tomb of the unknown listener, I buried with a simple wave. All this I wanted to be blinding and perceived. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Lovely,
Thanks, Joyce.
really lovely. So a few more jazz hands, heartfelt. And our next reader, I feel like we have the best of LA here tonight. This is wonderful. Elena Karina Byrne's new book is If This Makes You Nervous, Lyric Poetry Responding to Works of Art. Molly Bendel says, in this original and beguiling collection, Byrne offers us her private gallery and guides us through episodes of her life, revealing to us not only how works of art have instructed and nurtured her, but also how her life became imprinted on the art. A Pushcart Prize recipient, her previous books include No Don't, Squander, Mask, and The Flammable Bird. Her work has appeared in Poetry, Best American Poetry, the Paris Review, Volt, Bomb, and elsewhere. And I hope this is still true because I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this, Elena, but you are currently writing screenplays, short stories, and completing a collection of hybrid essays called Voyeur Hour, Poetry, Art, Film, and Desire. At least that's what my intel tells me. She's also a freelance editor and lecturer. And as most of us know, the very accomplished program consultant and stage manager for the Los Angeles Times Festival of Books. Elena Karina Byrne.
Thank you. Thank you, Joyce, who, if you don't already know, is Poetry Flash, and she has kept this alive for so long. Very important for Southern and Northern California, where you can find poetry, reviews, essays, interviews, all kinds of things, and a calendar for both Southern and Northern California. So please be sure to use Poetry Flash and support them. I'm a huge supporter of Gail Wronsky. She, what was not said is that she has 14 books. I don't know if I'll live that long. And they're all incredible. And as David St. John said, in an amazing variety and ability to transform and sort of renew the art differently each time, which I think is something that we all aspire to. So I'm going to read tonight mostly from If This Makes You Nervous, but I'm also going to read from my wonderful What Books chapbook that came out in 2020 that's called Now Don't. And I'll have a couple poems, I think, or one poem at least from Mask. So I'm going to start with the very first poem that I wrote for this series of ekphrastic works. I think somewhere around 2017, 18, and it's based on an English artist named Rachel Whiteread, who all you really need to know is that she casts negative space, like under tables. She'll even cast a whole room. I mean, she's an incredible artist. She does other things as well with boxes. And there's a quote from Chantal Ackerman. Thank you, Kathy Coleman. I was always like an old child. Rachel Whiteread. And it's about my half-sister's death, which you'll see a number of poems reference. You could almost lick those sugar cubes stacked in sleep, find the hexahedron arc floating today's ocean, missing its human animal leaving home. Grief is an impression of a missing table, under the table, a body departed, withdrawn from the body, floating, the color of Halloween candy wrappers. I lived a whole afternoon under the leftover house boards in her dying garden after my one sister died. Half sister, half death of my thinking about death at 9. A black hole can be measured by the sheer speed of what is orbiting around it. If you withdraw one object from the space in the room, measure what's left, all the empty parts, you have a child inside a box thinking outside itself. Such things in animal skin. And this is from No Don't. You already know what I am not saying. Nostalgia is coming back to our neighbor now. I threw the fake white-haired mouse into the high weeds next to their fence, felt with my hands the cold leaves like donkey ears. Years, we did not measure time but the beginning or end of the rain. My sister died because of the rain. Mole ribs broke in the hard ground. The green canary lungs were crushed by coal, and a threshold torrent of deep sea anchovies were made where we couldn't see them school. Her car near the ocean slid down a canyon, and outside, Mother Years passed over the continental divide in the private garden, stopped by snails and birds of paradise, mockingbirds mocking the gray darkness every summer since. I am animal lost near dead Chinese alligators, unable to run sideways in whale birth, the rooster's severed head, blue, rust, and red, where I am still a child running in from the rain with our chickens, their feathers wetting the polished wood floor behind us, the roulette table of pill bugs sinking there in the backyard mud came to a slow stop. And this title came about because of a Gaston Bachelard quote that I loved. He said, the rhythm is naturally less reliable on the side of the future. Between yesterday's nothingness and tomorrow's nothingness, there is no symmetry. The future is but a prelude. The future is a beast prelude. Violence is commissioned in the instant the drinking game hasn't yet happened. Life after death comes before wedding rice is thrown over the shoulder instead of salt. I want to free myself, but can't. There's an episode called Duration, and it's embroidered under the bed that belongs to daylight. So let us begin by saying there's a fact accident, a continual horizon lifted on the androgynous voice of the seagull suffering for food. The hull of waves rises and falls, whether it is day or night, yesterday or today, without permission. But the aim is nothingness. The motionless hour, nothing is taken from us, meaning future. Within the smiling regret, and that's Baudelaire. Within the smiling regret of the past is Baudelaire's cat's eye, yellow lit from within. All we have to do is wait. Metronomic on the lake, I know a duck hunter's decoy won't sink in the rain. Dead, father still opens the door for mother in the dream, half singing. So more of a collective death. This was written, of course, during COVID. Nan Golden fucks with 2020 mirrors. She had a lot of weird sexual stuff going on in her work. And as if ambiguity's on-site workload whistle caught us in the act of climax, breathing like oars, dragging the cold, slick water back. Breathing an orchard over the skin, caught staring, starting in on the face just long enough to know this. No street creed corner divides asphalt and fault into final dirt. No male from female. As if this country's added lack of empathy hours didn't already add up to my funeral of nail clippers, police peel, violent laughters, perfume bottles left bedside, where one quarter horse half sleeps in his musk. These limits of grief can't be stopped or looked at for long in the eye. Why, I'm no one's fallen apple, wearing her rind green dress. I forgot how to see the unwashed moon declaring my ex-husband's dirty water tail. I'm over an overkill silence. The sex minutes turn into a still life void, another woman's face at a price. Nobody's business that their features are sleeping inside my horse body now, made up of water, oiled bath wash, having no single declaration, expression left to drain. This might yet have me here, laid bare, trapped in parsimony, and still pleading for fruit. I don't know what that means. No, I'm kidding. Okay, I picked this one because Gail, this was one of the earliest ones I wrote, and Gail liked it. I think for its fun irreverence. If you don't know Damien Hirst, one of the things he did was, for example, he cast a giant, he put a shark in resin in a clear tank. It was just, floating there. Kind of one of his marker pieces. It's time Damien Hirst died in the pillbox, in the hurt love of God, in the Shark Tank, same place you put yourself in danger. In secret, the butterfly wings solace ripped from blue flight, motor-driven paint splattered loophole, dial to the child you were. It's a shit hour sense of consciousness, seal broken in monstrous world, access easy, located on the dot. See it? Crossing the crosswalk, doing this Leonardo thing, that theater life drawing from which you take a stuffed animal in the dark act out into the open again. A piano must fall on you. What else is there to death and the art hymn of the body you hate? New arrangement of diamonds in the skin skull, sees fit to call, glittering and seeming and seething, words teeming between your teeth where you can't breathe, where you'll live medicine forever in the darkened blue bygones of extinction, like this, suspended, your relic head upright as your reputation. I gotta wake up my phone. There it is. Okay. This is, we're going to get into a couple of family poems here. Farewell Face and one of Picasso's. You like to drink water from the neighbor's army green hose because it smells like summer hitting the hot ground. Here you are one age, whipped wind, a statistic, long before you can be at all woman. Before dusk's late curfew, sleepover, or simply because mom was pill happy at home with dad. You boot break her oval makeup mirror without anger, scatter its new scant face shapes into the far yard earth between a petting zoo of plants that needed to see the sky's fresh violence. Dirt-colored hair stuck to your cheek, and from the d'Avignon room of one spectator, Mom tried, for her sake, not yours, to stop your bad side that seemed unstoppable. An inebriated sea breaking itself apart, the form of you, unrecognizable and disappearing over and over into summer's darkening olivine body of sand. Mother was always staring at her beautiful face in mirrors, as if it might change. Her rear view one half cocked back at her while driving terrified me. Faces slowed or sped by us, back of a redhead, and apples half facing forward, floating baby nose, eyes aligned with ears, or only sunglasses, like twin poker cards turned. Picasso knew so well what he had in front of him. Women neither affirmed or denied belonging. That's why his painting could destroy them. I really don't know which mother face was reflected in the windshield ahead, or which bottle blue eye was opened on the moving road. So Joseph Beuys, was famous for, one of the things he was famous for is 1974 performance piece that's called I Liked America and America Likes Me. He trapped himself in a cage with a coyote for 3 days, and people came and witnessed this. It was also filmed, and somehow it was, in my mind, tied to my brother, who was 5 years older than me and already developing as an artist. Joseph Beuys once liked America, the coyote. For 3 days, Animal America tore at the felt blankets surrounding him. At an ambulance distance, race hate, war hours, and team whiteout police. We were all brought in to see the artist, shepherd, the shaman, in time's split prison gray divide, sharing tooth and nail desire to conquer himself like one common tide nightmare dredged up from a waking summer swamp, to bob the head, to nod, prodded. What chaos from freedom came oscillating animal rhythm cycles. I saw the gold straw like cut coyote fur in the male corner. Those 50 Wall Street journals peed on. I saw my brother standing on his bed in the next room home, not knowing where he belonged. I heard the pealed night call, his fear run down the stairs to open our front door. But no one would be there. No one with that taut desire to heal. No offstage cane that would find his neck. Okay, Linda Benglis, also artists around the same time. I don't know why this also reminded me of my parents had an artist friend who was a really terrific painter, and his name was Robert Chewy. And he died unexpectedly, car accident. Someone ran a red light. And Linda Benglis made these, one of the things that she made were these huge sort of like boiling over amorphous objects, and some of them, sometimes they look like poop. I don't know, I'm kidding. There were a lot of variations on that theme, but you should look her up if you don't know her work. Linda Benglis were cooked in LA, confusing ourselves on impulse to completely melt down together like that heat welt of 100 crayons left in the childhood driveway, whether we now or not like it. To look at this and just die ahead of ourselves, suffocate under Linda's eat meat giant bronze, or inside my cousin's carpet once he rolled me off the bed to a hard landing where I couldn't flee or breathe. Far from her beeswax hive, we will take a resin course of action, turn and gut twist to be fluid, fall to our lover's floor without form, be continuous, or pour ourselves from a great height, whole into a glass held out by another's hand, because we want to trust. Yet, like history, look how objects fail us by default, by means. I'd make all my mistakes visible, add her day glow pink to see my own blood clot, bring back those who are gone, change the corner light, traffic light that phrased a drunkard's truck clear through his front windshield, turning its glass into snow and an active noun set down. Because any idea of his painting is incomplete, bio black at best now. Because live long here enough, and you will see the tar pits boil over these sidewalk seams, freezing like my dog's lawn excrement, matte in color, holding memory of the previous self and heated to gleaming. I don't know why this looks real like it's going really slow. But I have a few more. So let's see. I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to go to Poetry Substance Abuse is a Darwin Finch drawing. I don't know why I'm laughing. Sorry. It's been a long day. I've been up since 4:30. This is one of those weird nights. Poetry Substance Abuse is a Darwin Finch drawing. In motion or air of abandon, when you least expect it, much like when they say your next love will come to you when you least expect it. Your face stopping there at the equatorial bulge because its pull at either seam is one continuous seam mount ring of fire already put out on your head, leaving you somewhere vocabulary continuum caught on pause. The pause button, the same as the mute button, same as all faith in God is no God, same as you are your last thought swallowed silver before it is said out loud to a tiny hand mirror sleeping in the involuntary dark inside your purse, big enough for the bird cage thrown out in that alley trash heap. Its past songs now more a consequence of gravity than feathers defiance. Perfect is your animal shape's imperfection in the making. Every dark matter's silent distribution, shape, and the origin tangle. Sweet physical chaos, make whatever creates unequal harm. Okay, couple slightly, well, Disappearances, Francesca Woodman's Providence. And, she did those amazing photographs where women are always seem to be disappearing like into the wall and into, physical spaces and houses. And they're just she's stunning. She unfortunately committed suicide. Maybe one of the results of her genius. And the word atumbra is actually just this, it's another word for shadow. Map of movements, my shadow takes its time frames from me, becomes how far to go from the wallpaper's arsenic flower for the fetish of what is missing. After all, the wall can be coffin-like when my body is left alone against time, merging with the oblique imagination, with my hurting organs that have no music heard, to seek containments, corners, closed windows, cupboard, hinge door, counter curtains. The way we make a thing of ourselves happen, autoerotic, autoprophetic. But one hand will not hold water, nor the eye another's locked gaze for long. With the end of my breath is the beginning of yours, like a tin tea kettle left to boil down in another room. Away we came to this Untumbra place with private thinking shifting paper, light above, copper Japanese beetles hatching under the earth below. But the wind, like nothing, rocks inside us, the same as truth. A lover cannot escape this vertigo. This is called Almost, and this, I think this is my, yes, this is my 2-poem warning. And thank you so much for being here, all of you, and to Poetry Flash again, and to Gail's stunning work. Harnobo was the 1700s designer of woodblock artists, and he was an innovative color prints. It was absolutely incredible. So it's a little bit of a kind of, adopting persona something. Oh, and Janken is the Japanese game for rock, paper, scissors, and Kyoto is archery. Almost Harunobu, black wings of hair, Benashi bone pins, women of me come now servant to the Tama River, washing courtesan brocade, multicolored on a screen. New lovers leaving, new lovers kneeling. She too turned cinnabar red by hand paint, vertical to horizontal. Lost memory sheets showing months. Horizontal. I don't know. Okay, you got it. Anyway, that court gives rank for autumn and winter after a milk bath in front of the mosquito's net. Musical motif. When this advent end of the 17th century pulls back the bow. When you first costume, when home, play Jenkins, story, straw, Kyoto already exists for the target ahead. What pattern of singing still rises from this color page and reaches you in secret? How I see yields no temperament, eyes half closed, not looking up when walking off this Shunga landscape. Butterfly halo above trees, kimono sleeves open, hands each to each holding, and beneath my obi fold, a hidden dinner bell underwater, the clit sex knot, this impermanence of hello or farewell, like violence rhythmed in the mind after war. And this last poem is actually from several books ago, from Mask. I don't know why, I just thought somehow it fit. And it's inspired by an Elizabeth Smart quote that she says, "I'm overrun, jungled in my bed. I am infested with a menagerie of desires. My heart is eaten by a dove. A cat scrambles in the cave of my sex. Hounds in my head obey a whipmaster who cries nothing but havoc as the hours test mine endurance. How can I bird relief in the nest building day to day? Necessity supplies no velvet wing with which to escape. I am indeed immortally pierced with the seeds of love." Animal Mask. All isn't fleeing, is common law or none, and love and the animals round in your bow sight you see. My impropriety obeyed can be visible daily like this, animal and animal. What peaceable kingdom not had here? I'm earthwormed behind the skull's beehive curve, a constant for you, Jack Mackerel's silver swim with no apparent sense, the turned Cortez soapfish wash, clean me and starry flounder, eat me, a bride of the sea from Venice with the canting crew of beggars as my own, their whining slang speech and the dusty mole's groundfall root and blood which surrounds my heavy head. The nothing me now, plucked feather, yellow mina eye, crested and crow-cornered, high nested too high to see my own creatures escape, my own Tuvalu's coral atolls, fluorescence, fish-scaled, dissolved to a tiny goby, nor me deeper down the narwhal's underwater horn. Shall I put on a happy face instead, human for you? I do not redeem the horsehair braid. Sparrow gravel at my feet. This confusion of the senses do not shed snake skins whisperings past your ears. If you want to black bear me back, flesh through my fur, seed me senseless with your body. Burn me out of the forest into the open plains where I am Watipi running, running, and running. Call me from the sleeper waves, call me from den and hollow knot, out, the she in it all, amphibia, anima, target I am. I ask, please put me out of my misery. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Well, you brought up the word stunning. That was stunning. Both of these incredible poets tonight.
Oh, and please buy Gail Wronsky's selected poems for presents and for yourself. It is absolutely knockout, and it's a must-have.
Right. And just to let everyone know where they can get it, Mo's Books has in Berkeley has co-sponsored the Poetry Flash online bookshop, and go to bookshop.org/lists LISTS/poetry-flash-readings, and it's in the chat box. And if you go there, you can get these wonderful books and support independent book selling at the same time. And thank you so much for this wonderful reading. So
Thank
Gail
you,
and
everybody.
will
good
be on,
night. Good night.
Gail and I will be on the chat for a few minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.